throws and make a play or two. It feels slow.
Elsewhere around the league, two-time Pro Bowler running back James Cook and the Buffalo Bills reached a 4-year, $48 million contract extension with $30 million guaranteed. Cook will now make $12 million a year. The Nashville Sounds got back in the win column last night after a 5-4 win over the Durham Bulls, snapping a 7-game losing streak. The Sounds continue their series this evening with coverage on 94.9 The Fan app on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
For more, log on to thegamenashville.com. Your sports live here on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9 The Fan.
30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. It's the George Plaster Show, featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famers Kelly Holcomb and young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. At the moment, not a beautiful Wednesday, unless you want rain and you need it. We're out here at the Fordyce Center in Bellevue, and for about the last 45 minutes, the bottom has fallen out. For a good while, we could not see out that window way down the hall from us. It was pouring.
Not a deluge, a monsoon.
A monsoon. What's the difference?
I don't know. I said deluge. I was like, that's not even a deluge. That's a monsoon right there.
Yeah. So let's see if any of it's gotten into Murfreesboro. Say hello to Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, what's the weather like there?
Overcast, cloudy, no rain though. It has rained, but not right now.
Give it time. It might. So did you ever participate with any of your teams in scrimmages in preseason?
You're talking about, when teams came together? Yes, I did. Yeah. I did it with, I started out with the Tampa Bay Bucks a long time ago, and we flew down to Miami before we had our preseason game. And then when I was with Cleveland, we went up and met the Bills at a college. I cannot remember where that college was, but we met those guys and we practiced. Yeah, we did that all the time. That's part of everyday life now and everyday training camp. When you come into the season now, and it's a good thing. I mean, you get preseason games, but it's a good thing because you get over the monotony of camp. You get to go against other guys, and it gets a little heated. You get into fights, and you get to see what you're up against some of the better players in the league. So it's I don't know how this preseason stuff's going to work because it seems like it's always going to be there. We talked about this yesterday or the day before, but that you get more out of those practices than you do the preseason game.
Did it always lead to fights?
Oh, absolutely. Every time. Yeah. Of course, I'm not fighting anybody. Like, I'm going to throw a ball at you if you come at me. I just try to get out of the way.
Well, this is the perfect segue then. Terry McCormick, TitanInsider.com, Main Street Media, joining us from somewhere between here and the Falcons training camp near Atlanta. Terry, it sounds like the fisticuffs were out in full force today.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that going on, about 3 different incidents. The biggest one was a big melee that Michael Penix was actually on the periphery of. There were some reports that he got knocked down. I didn't see that, but it certainly was interesting. One of the Falcons linemen ripped off Jeffrey Simmons' helmet, and then away we go. And then Jarvis Brownlee had to be escorted by a teammate away from the melee. They just about gotten it settled, and James Williams was one of the Titans in there yelling, and it reignited for a bit. They finally broke it up, ran a play, and then Caleb McGarry of the Falcons hooked up with Femi Oleasia of the Titans on the next play, and it was another little minor skirmish. And then shortly after that, you had one happen even in a special teams drill, and I think Kelly will probably tell you it's unusual to have a fight take place in a punt drill.
That
is unusual. Very.
That's new stuff. So, Terry, just out of curiosity, what's the situation on Kirk Cousins, and do you hear anything like Kirk Cousins going to the Rams if Matthew Stafford isn't available?
Yeah, I've not heard anything on that. Kirk looks pretty good, but I'm going to tell you something. I think he's lost a little bit of his fastball, George. He doesn't. There was a ball that he threw in, I think it was the 2-minute, and 2 or 3 years ago, if he's in Minnesota, that ball is completed for a touchdown. And as it was, I think it was Harris, the rookie, Marcus Harris, the rookie defensive back for the Titans, caught up to it, knocked it away from the receiver after he'd been beaten on the play.
Okay, as you can.
And I said, that is a touchdown if it hit from his Minnesota days, but he doesn't have the fastball like he used to.
Interesting. Now, you're going to rejoin us at 4 o'clock to get into kind of the whole picture of where this football team is right now. So let me ask a dumb question. Did they get any better because of these 2 days?
Probably, if only for the fact that they're working against teams that are better than they are. Both the Bucs and the Falcons looked markedly better, from what we saw in the preseason game against Tampa and what I saw in these 2 practices. So I think from that standpoint, yes, but I do think, George, there's a talent shortage on this roster.
Oh, there's no question there is, and we're going to talk about that at 4 o'clock. Terry, where is the one place position-wise where you felt like they held their own?
I thought the offensive line was held up pretty well. I didn't see, I watched yesterday, and they didn't give up a whole lot of sacks. But and then today I watched the defense. But from what I'm told, the O-line seemed to protect fairly well. So that may be an encouraging development, shall we say.
Okay, let's do this. You've kind of given us – well, let me ask one more thing about today. How'd Cam Ward look?
I watched him. I watched him yesterday. I didn't get to see him today. I watched the defense. But from what I was told, they took a lot of the short stuff, a lot of the dink and dunk. They only really completed one deep ball, didn't really try a lot of shots down the field after yesterday's kind of disappointing performance. So it sounded like they reeled it in a little bit, just to try to get back in a rhythm.
Okay,
he did have one interception in the last team period during the 2-minute drill. He was trying to throw a ball out of bounds, didn't get it there, and it got picked off on the sideline.
Okay, look forward to your rejoining us at 4 o'clock where we get much more big picture. Terry, thank you for the update.
All right.
Kelly, it sounds like not only they're better in the offensive line, because this is not the first time we've heard this, but I'm sure that Bill Callahan, who people have raved about, some of his stuff may be getting through.
Yeah, it takes time. That's what I've said the whole time. It takes time for Brian Callahan to implement his system. It takes time for all these position coaches. You can't just do it in a year, George. It's tough. And then all the new guys that you bring in, you've got to have some veterans there that helps the new guys. But, yeah, he's a really good offensive line coach, and that's really encouraging to me, because everything in football, we talk about the receivers and the tight ends and the quarterbacks and the running back, but it all starts up front. If you don't have anything up front, you just can't win ball games, especially in the National Football League. And defensively, you have to have a defensive line. That's where it starts on the defensive side of the ball. If they can't get any run stop, then you're not going to win any games either. So that's encouraging with what he said with the offensive line, because I don't think the Titans have been there in a very long time.
No, you're right about that. Billy, take over.
Time for the update, brought to you by Football Night in Nashville. Just a few weeks away from the NFL season kicking off September the 4th at Sports and Social. Green Hills, come out and join us. The Cowboys take on the Eagles, do the show there from 3 to 5 and stay after for the game. So going to be fun out there in Green Hills at Sports and Social. So don't forget to mark that down and come join us. Don't forget about this either. Big news from Knoxville, Tennessee is switching to Adidas from Nike in 2026. So not this year.
Wow.
They'll stick with Nike through this athletic year, and then they will move to Adidas starting July 1st of next year. They will become Tennessee's official footwear, uniform, apparel, and sideline partner. This is a big deal because apparently Nike and Tennessee didn't have a great relationship the last couple of years. And I'm hearing that Adidas is going to become for Tennessee what Nike is for Oregon. That's a lot of, so there's a lot of money involved here, and that Tennessee is going to get some special treatment from Adidas. Who knows what that ultimately means, and then whether that translates to wins on the field. But Tennessee headed to Adidas and not Nike.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
Another piece of news at the lower level, Tennessee Tech has joined the SoCon. And this is big, obviously, for basketball and obviously for football as well. Not as good of a football conference, but just like Tennessee moves to Adidas July 1, Tech will join the SoCon July 1. They will make the SoCon an 11-team conference. They join ETSU, Chattanooga, the Citadel, Furman, Mercer, UNC Greensboro, Samford, VMI, Western Carolina, and Wofford.
This is a crippling blow for the OVC because basically Tennessee Tech was the last of the originals.
And for basketball, for example, this is tougher because Tennessee Tech's they're a solid basketball program. I mean, not a perennial tournament team, but that makes it a little bit tougher for those because that's a one-bid league. I know our good friend Jack Gold likes to call it a two-bid league, but makes it more competitive there for making the NCAA tournament as well. But that's going to be fun, them joining up with ETSU and Chattanooga to play them every year. Now out to the Big 12, though. Kansas just got a lot of money from donor David Booth. They just received an unprecedented $300 million gift. It is believed to be one of the largest gifts in the history of college athletics. They plan to allocate $75 million of it toward their ongoing transformation of their stadium. And their stadium is just about completed and ready to go for the season, but they're doing a lot outside of the stadium as well. And David Booth is a big part of it.
David Booth the owner of the Royals?
I'm not sure about that. But he just gave a bunch.
Yeah, whoever he is, he's got deep pockets.
Oh yeah, I mean that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, so Kansas,
David, if you're listening, the zip code is 37205. Send it and send it quick.
Yeah, he's a philanthropist. Let's just say that.
A philanthropist.
Yeah.
So is that a little bit like if you have money and you're weird, you're eccentric? If you're weird and you're poor, you're weird.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's about right.
Yeah.
Also, Browns quarterback Shedeur Sanders sat out of practice today with an oblique injury. He injured his oblique throwing and was held out of the first day joint practices with the Eagles. Stefanski said he suffered the injury during warm-ups and that the plan for him was scrapped last minute to practice. He was the only quarterback that didn't take reps. Flacco, Pickett, Gabriel, and Huntley all took snaps today.
So, Kelly, the timing of this could not be worse because he's coming off a great performance in the preseason game. And he wanted to continue to show that. And although we're not there and don't know exactly what this means, oblique is never good.
Exactly. And what you said yesterday, you can't make the club in the tub, and you don't want to get hurt if you're in his situation right now because every rep that you get is huge. And he just came off that performance. Everybody's talking about him. ESPN's talking about him, and now he's hurt. You just can't, and that's bad, like an oblique deal in your, underneath your armpit and all that. That stuff is no joke. And if you don't get it rehabbed right, it can be lingering as well. It's kind of like a hamstring with a throwing athlete. So that's just not good at this time and moment for Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, I hate that for him.
Yeah.
All right. Another thing that's not good at this time and moment is betting in sports. And Michael Porter Jr., who's currently with the Nets, went on a podcast recently and said the proliferation of sports betting has detracted from the enjoyment of the game and worries that it's only going to get worse. If you remember, we had this in an update a while back, a couple of years ago. His brother Jonte was banned from the league in 2024 for his role in a gambling scheme. And Jonte later admitted to removing himself from 2 games to benefit associates who had bet on the under in his stats. He said it was designed to pay off gambling debts. Well, Michael Porter Jr., who was traded to the Nets this offseason, he referenced his brother's struggles with gambling on the podcast and indicated that he understood how players who come from nothing could have trouble resisting the temptations of sports betting. Take a listen to this.
Gambling stuff can affect that a lot.
100%.
Think about it.
There you go.
You get mad at these dudes that do the sports betting, but think about if you could get all your homies rich by telling them, yo,
no shit,
bet $10,000 on my under, this one game I'm gonna act like I got an injury and I'm gonna sit out. I'm gonna come out after 3 minutes, and they all get a little bag because you did it one game. Like, that is so not okay. But some people probably think like that. They come from nothing, and 100%. All their homies have nothing,
100%.
And they're like, bro, if I come out of this game after 3 minutes and y'all all hit on my under, we're all getting a little bag.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I obviously my brother went through his situation. Malik Beasley's going through a situation right now. Terry Rozier was in some hot water. But the whole sports gambling entity, bro, it's bad, and it's only gonna get worse, bro. Like we really do get death threats. Like if you and the thing is you can't.
Somebody doesn't hit a parlay.
Crazy part is you can't win anymore because if I do too good, I'm messing up the people that bet on the under. And if they bet on my over, you know what I'm saying? So you're messing up some people's money. If they bet on your under or over, you're messing up some people's.
You know
bread.
what's crazy?
Oh yeah.
Watching that, I started thinking, okay, how much is this happening? In terms of the big money when you have. Because to me, and Kelly, you've talked about it, this has to be happening more than we think it is. And when he talked about buddies and friends, and now everybody's got a FanDuel, a DraftKings, whatever, and these kids are young, it got me thinking, how much is this happening that we're not seeing and people just aren't getting caught?
I would think a bunch. I've told you all that.
The answer is a ton.
I don't know what has to happen for this to be reined in, but something does.
This is not going to get reined in. This is a little bit like that. What's that thing about, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. It's out there now, and I don't know what the answer is. There probably is going to have to be some more realistic thought process to it that says you can't bet on your sport, but if your sport's basketball, we don't care if you bet on baseball or football. Yeah. It seems like there's going to have to be some middle ground to all this eventually. Just one person's thought.
That's what I got.
Okay. After the break, Scott Ramsey from the Nashville Sports Council, he is their executive director, will join us. You're going to learn some stuff that you probably have not heard yet, but Scott laid it out. This is an interview we taped late yesterday afternoon. I think you'll enjoy it. It's got some really good stuff behind it. This is 94.9 The Fan.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
A golf cart from Mikey's Motors is the perfect way to get around this summer. Whether you're going to the park, the pool, or the playground, do it in a brand new golf cart from Mikey's Motors, Franklin and Murfreesboro.
Summertime fun in Tennessee. That's what we sell at Mikey's Motors. Come see how we roll.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
At Wilson Bank and Trust, we believe you shouldn't have to choose between personal service and digital solutions. As your local independent bank, we're proud to offer the relationships and trusted service you expect, along with the tools and technology that keep you moving forward. So whether you're growing a business, buying a home, or planning for the future, we're here to help. Because this isn't just where we work, it's where we live too. Wilson Bank and Trust, here to get you there. Member FDIC. Offer the relationships and trusted service you expect, along with the tools and technology that keep you moving forward. So whether you're growing a business, buying a home, or planning for the future, we're here to help. Because this isn't just where we work, it's where we live too. Wilson Bank and Trust, here to get you there. Member FDIC.
Tonight, the Nashville Sounds continue their 6-game series in Durham. Pre-game at 5:20.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan and the Game Nashville app.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Welcome all of you back. Normally Wednesday at 3:20, Mike Organ from the Tennessean joins us. He's on vacation. And as most of you know, Mike will end up talking about some things that probably don't get a lot of discussion except for him. So with that in mind, I've asked Scott Ramsey, the executive director of the Nashville Sports Council and the Music City Bowl, to join us. You are having a busy August, aren't you?
We are. It's really been a very active summer. We've got 2 new events on the horizon here in the next few months, and kind of planning those, especially in the first year when you host new events, takes a lot of extra work and just to make sure everything's all set up.
Did I hear you say earlier that you have more than 10,000 tickets sold for the volleyball on Labor Day weekend?
Not quite, but we're getting close to 10. We're approaching the 10 mark, and I think the excitement around that event's really encouraging George to hopefully kind of make that a multi-year event and annual event, I should say. And we're looking forward to kind of kicking that off. ESPN's been a great partner. We start with the number 1 ranked team in the country, Nebraska, playing Kentucky, who was preseason number 7 on ABC, and then we move into Tennessee, Purdue, and Vanderbilt in its inaugural volleyball year, playing Illinois on SEC Network. So 3 great games, 1 ticket, Bridgestone Arena on Sunday, August 31st, Labor Day weekend there. And we're real looking forward to kind of having that event.
Scott, for a person who's never been to a volleyball event, I can tell them it's really exciting. It's sort of an up-and-coming sport. Why did it hit so big at Nebraska?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but the Big Ten in general, really has separated themselves a little bit as far as, that particular sport. Penn State won the national championship last year. Wisconsin's a perennial power. And then certainly when they added the West Coast teams, the USC and UCLA, very good. So not real sure how, but all I know is we're really excited about having them. And, I think that'll be a great experience. If you've never been to that, you will be shocked at the athleticism and the quick pace and the sport in general about how exciting it is.
I've always said Dominique Wilkins would have been a killer volleyball player.
You're right. I think he would be.
So let's get to the FCS title game, because this is an event that has kind of gone under the radar. But when we get toward the end of the year, it won't be under anybody's radar. The North Dakota states, the North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, they have turned this into something really big. And oh, by the way, it's coming to Nashville.
Yeah, it is. I know we had a little meeting on that today, but I'm really excited. I think people are going to be really surprised and really, over maybe meet expectations or exceed expectations of what they have for that level of college football. It is well played. It is well coached. It is exciting. The fans are passionate. And we beat out 10 cities to host the event for the next 2 years. We're very appreciative of Vanderbilt and Candace Lee and Clark to let us use the facility for the national championship of Division I FCS football. The selection committee meets and selects the playoff structure and around Thanksgiving, and then they move through the playoffs. We'll know the final teams after the semifinals, December 20th, and they roll in here right after we do the Music City Bowl and then do our New Year's Eve event, and then we roll right into FCS. So, from a city standpoint, we really filled up that week from December 26th to January 5th now with a lot of things, a lot of visitors in our town.
So, Scott, for those who have never seen one of these, this is a calendar book. Most people do this by way of, a spreadsheet, but I'm very old-fashioned. So while you were talking today, I opened this thing up. So you got the bowl game on December 30th, and then less than a week later, on January 5th, you host the FCS title game. What kind of logistical stuff does that entail for you and your staff in a 6-day period? And in all honesty, as you said, more than 6 days, because those teams arrive 4 or 5 days before the actual Music City Bowl.
Yeah, actually, I'll kind of back up to December 7th, George. That's when we will know our bowl teams right after the championship games. Typically that week, both teams will send in their football ops folks to do site visit at not just Gaylord hotels, but practice sites. We kind of work on the schedule for the week. Those teams usually arrive December 26, 27, and go through that week. So as we're kind of working through that from about December 7th through the 15th or 20th, kind of getting all that settled up with those teams, then we'll be looking at FCS concurrently. We'll probably use a similar setup, I would say, at Gaylord hotels. Each team for our bowl game, for example, has kind of their own wing of the hotel, Magnolia and Delta, where you've got your own transportation portico. You've got meeting rooms, team rooms, sleeping rooms in there, kind of brand up that section of the hotel. So then the 20th, we find out those teams. Certainly you got Christmas in there, which slows down some planning process. And then you've got the bowl teams arriving. We'll host that game on the 30th. We've got a great time slot this year. We're at 4:30 Central, 5:30 Eastern. Close down, clean up on the 31st as the city's doing the New Year's Eve event. And then we expect the national championship FCS teams to roll in Friday, January 2. And in between there, we'll have set up and designed the everything at the stadium at Vanderbilt, and make sure the hotel's transitioned over, and host that event on the 3rd, 4th. Do a huge tailgate party event at Vanderbilt Stadium on the 5th, leading into primetime game on Monday, January 5th at Vanderbilt First Bank Stadium. So busy month.
No kidding. So in Frisco, they would draw around 20 in what is a soccer stadium.
Yeah.
Now you're going to Vandy, which is in the 30 to 32 range.
Right.
I'm sure you've tried to kind of throw it up on the wall and see what sticks. What would it take to sell this out?
Well, certainly, I think the one thing that is obvious with FCS, you've got a group of teams that really have a fan base that's going to travel to a national championship game in big numbers, and you've got some smaller schools that probably will travel less. So I think first of all, to kind of get sold out, you've got to get a little lucky with catching a couple of the huge programs that have a base that will bring 10 to 15,000 people each, and fill up 30,000 seats. You're right. Frisco sold out 13 of the last 14 years, and that 14th year was COVID. So they filled up, and so we're hoping that the sport, their fans, in those programs, and hopefully the Nashville football fans will be ready to really grow that event from about 20,000 to 30 with Vanderbilt Stadium. We felt like it was the right size. We're adding a lot of premium seats and suites that Toyota Stadium in Frisco didn't have. So we'll have other options for fans. So first and foremost, I think we got to catch the right programs to get to 30. If we don't, then I think, we've got to get very aggressive, and we've been working on some ideas on that of how we can kind of get out in the community and bring people to experience a national championship game on that Monday night.
Well, you let us know whatever we can do on this show, because I think this is the kind of community event that we need to get behind. You laid out a couple of other things earlier today that I'm not sure the average fan knows about, one of which is this huge gathering of the National Special Olympics that'll come here now. It's a ways away, but I don't know if anybody had heard this.
Yeah, the U.S. Special Olympics will be coming to Nashville in 2034, and I know that does sound a long way away, but it's only 3 events away. So it only happens like the Olympics every 4 years. So, in 2026, it's in Minneapolis, in Minnesota, and then 2030 goes to Cleveland, and 2034 comes to Nashville. As you can imagine, with that event and the participants and the support that some of the participants need, the facility requirements, the transportation requirements, the housing requirements, and things like that. It takes several years to kind of plan it. And I thought it was a really good decision to go ahead and award that far out. The Tennessee Special Olympics folks and Adam did a great job kind of presenting the bid on behalf of the state as well as Nashville. Vanderbilt, again, is going to partner and use a lot of their dorms and facilities for that event in the summer of 34. And will really allow us to see both the Minneapolis and the Cleveland events to kind of get our arms around all the operational requirements that will be necessary to put on that event. But boy, what a great celebration of sport that'll be. And looking forward, while it's still 9 years away, so really looking forward to that event.
Scott, with the building and once it's completed of the new dome stadium, suddenly there are 3 things that people kind of point to: Super Bowl, college football playoff, and the third would be the Final Four. Now, it's too early to know for sure what any of this means for Nashville, but you're right in the pulse of this. How do you feel? What's the reaction right now when you say, oh, by the way, we'll have a dome stadium?
It's great. I think it started a year or two ago when everything got kind of finalized with the timing and the plan. knowing that the stadium will be done in 27 really allows us to really just start kind of looking at the cycles of when those events will be awarded. And then sometimes the geographical rotation of those events can kind of limit you where you are in the Mid-South of when you could really kind of realistically kind of look at some of those events, and also start kind of planning on fundraising, on infrastructure needs. And when I say infrastructure needs, you're going to have some of the surrounds. Obviously, the Metro government and the Fallon Group are working on the East Bank redevelopment. That'll be a big component of these events. As you know, George, you need a lot of space for a media compound near a stadium. You've got corporate hospitality. And in our particular case, you're going to be using a lot of pedestrian bridges and so forth, dumping people over to the river. So you've got to have it sequenced in with the East Bank development, not just the stadium readiness, which will be there. So, you know, when you start kind of looking at those years and when they'll be available, the Final Four, for example, is bid out already through 2031. The CFP game is already bid out, or at least assigned some cities through 2030. So I think you start looking at that 29, 30 through 33 or 34 window of probably trying to kind of sequence those events up. It's not quite as easy as people think of just kind of, you know, picking a year or saying, hey, any year works, because you've got to have, for example, you got to have the convention center for 2 weeks. Well, do you have a convention you got to move or buy out? It might be a multi-year. Do you have the hotels available that weekend? Do you have your fundraising in place? Does it fit with the rights holder, the NFL, the NCAA, the CFP, and when they want to kind of be in this part of the country? So you've got to have a lot of things aligned, which sometimes kind of, you know, schedules that a little differently. But, you know, I think it's excitement nationally. You know, people are talking about it. They want to be here. I certainly think you saw that initially with all the major events kind of getting to Las Vegas. And I think you saw with that new stadium and that opening up a lot of similarities coming to Nashville here. So we're excited about it. And, you know, it's going to be big undertakings, but boy, it'll be a great level of excitement in our city.
Scott, appreciate you taking the time. I was in Atlanta for SEC Media Days several weeks ago, and it was a zoo. You had All-Star Weekend. You had a Beyonce concert. You had a UFC event, and then throw media days in there, 3-4 days of that. And George and I were talking. George brought up the fact that there's probably one too many events the weekend in Atlanta, and obviously Atlanta is different than Nashville. How, as the sports council, and maybe you guys haven't run into this yet, but how tough can that be? Where you've got to coordinate. There's a lot of coordination. Yeah. And that got me thinking about your job. I'm sure you deal with a lot of that. How tough can that be sometimes?
Yeah, I would say one of the things in my 30-year career here that we've done better than most cities is really work collaboratively on that long-term plan. You know, I think, as I mentioned, there's a lot of components to hosting a major event of that scale. So I think we've done better than most in putting the tourism folks, the CVB folks, the convention center folks, the Predators, the Titans, now SC, and the mayor's office, the governor's office. And I think we've really kind of thoughtfully, you know, kind of looked at that out schedule to make sure we have the resources. And also we're all aligned on those resources to make sure the years that we pursue certain events that we can stage them as successfully as we hope to. But I mean, sometimes you can't avoid certain things. For example, when we had the NFL draft, what people may not remember is we also had the St. Jude Rock and Roll Marathon that weekend. We flipped it in one day to run that on that Saturday morning, ending at the stadium where we had the NFL experience. So it wasn't ideal. It wasn't something that we necessarily would have chosen to do. But we already had kind of some things in place, and it was unavoidable on the date. So sometimes you just can't totally dictate it to benefit your city. But I think we do a really good job of advanced planning and trying to anticipate, you know, those windows the best we can.
The SEC basketball tournament I thought was a huge success this past season, and there were a couple adjustments. I noticed there was some additional seating a little bit lower where the press corps was a little bit cut off, and you also had alcohol. I think that was sold for the first time ever at the SEC basketball tournament. What kind of conversations went into that, and are there additional upgrades or changes coming potentially?
It's a better question for Commissioner Sankey and Charlie Hussey at the SEC office. I mean, certainly you're trying to, with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma this year, you had more demand for seating, especially within the schools. You start thinking about, each school only getting, I think 600 or 700 tickets per school now, guaranteed allotment. When you start looking at 16 schools, so. I think any way to kind of increase, the floor seating and some of the fan experience is certainly something the SEC continues to look at. We as the host city kind of execute that plan. But I certainly think, we're blown away by the success of the event, really. I mentioned it today in the thing that George was at with us. And, I think who would have thought that when we did the deal in 2015 to get it out through 2035 to have the men's tournament, it was, we thought it would be really good, but we thought Wednesday and Thursday we'd really have to work on trying to get fans in there. And this year, man, on Wednesday at noon, we had, 14,000 people in there. It's 2 sessions a day. We're filling up the city Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday with massive media coverage. So, just what a great event for us, and to have it long term, and we can continue to add those elements, Billy, I think is really going to benefit Nashville.
Scott, my 92-year-old uncle, my dad's brother, was part of that 13,000 on Wednesday. He was yelling "Pig Suey" from Little Rock. He was fired up to be there. All I can say is this. Wasn't there a figure skating competition about 30 years ago?
There was. Yeah, 1997, February. I'll never forget it. But we've come a long way, George, since then. And it's, I think the city's really benefited from all the sports. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Congratulations on what's going on. Can't wait to see how the FCS title game plays out. Scott, thank you for the visit.
Thanks, George. Thanks for coming today. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Scott Ramsey is the executive director of the Music City Bowl and the Nashville Sports Council. Probably flip-flop that the wrong way. But after the break, we'll talk more about some of the stuff that's going on in our city that gets you a little bit fired up. This is 94.9, The Fan.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
This is my buddy Stan Harrison from Apple Collision Centers. Recently, you've been talking to me about companies that have a fleet of trucks and they're always in need of repairs.
That's right, George. We understand that nobody likes to deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler.
Hello, I got places to be. Like me next to you, and you next to me, and you next to me, and you next to me, and you next to me. Hello, I got places to be.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com. Here's Officer Garen Hoskins for the Metro Nashville Police Department.
The Metro Nashville Police Department is on the forefront of policing in this century, and I'm glad I'm a part of it. I'm glad I get to find other good officers, other future good officers. And if you're watching today, or you yourself or someone you happen to know is interested, join MNPD.com. Feel free to reach out to us because we need good officers, and it's a great city to work for. Get into law enforcement and join a great department. And I just so happened to meet an individual who heard my segment on your show, has already applied, has come from multiple different career paths, and has always had this dream. And we're very glad to have him. That's just going to be the start of many.
If you want to be part of the Plaster Show advertising family, it's simple. Just email me, plastergeorge@gmail.com. Again, plastergeorge@gmail.com. We will fit your budget and your needs.
Your two total screw-ups of humongous proportions.
Sports. We're not living in an era where perfection is necessary.
They thought they were a championship contending team.
Here. We told you not to do this.
Your sports live here.
On ESPN 94.9.
And the Game Nashville Sports Network.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Okay, we are as interview with Scott Ramsey revealed some very interesting stuff. And in the background is this whole, the Dome Stadium is coming. What now extra layer does this mean for Nashville? And Kelly, I have absolutely no doubt about our city and what it's capable of doing. I do wonder if the NFL has sort of played both sides against the middle, because it's only a 60,000 seat dome that we're building, which would be very low for a Super Bowl. And I guess my worry is by now in the construction phase, Minneapolis knew they were getting a Super Bowl. You don't hear squat from the NFL.
That's true, man. You don't normally when you build a new stadium, that's the first thing that comes out. Everybody talks about, hey, we're going to get a Super Bowl. So, yeah, I haven't heard anything with that either. But here's what the NFL will do, George. If it's 60,000 seat stadium, the tickets are already pricey anyway as you go. So they'll just up the ticket prices is what I'm thinking. I mean, I've told y'all this over and over. It always falls on the consumer. And I remember when I used to sell my Super Bowl tickets. You get so much money for those things, and people are willing to pay anything to go to the Super Bowl. And if it's only 60,000 seats and people want to be there, they'll pay anything. So I'm sure the NFL will raise the prices.
I'm looking at a Yahoo Sports article, and they're saying that the minimum capacity for a Super Bowl is 70,000 that the NFL requires.
That's been said before, but everybody here has put it out that the NFL is saying, that's not going to be prohibitive. I think it is. I think we're not in great shape on that because of the size. The thing that surprised me a year ago at the Super Bowl is that nobody asked Goodell that question.
Yeah, I mean, because that's a big deal. I mean, that's another 10,000 more seats, more people there. Goodell will usually take that and want that.
But when you think when you're in designing all that, you would say, hey, like you've got to be in contact with the NFL office, and if they've made those rules that Billy just shared, you've got to say, well, I don't know if we need that big of a stadium. I mean, is there an exception to the rule, or is this stuck in stone where it's got to be 70,000? Because if it does, and you want something in your city like the Super Bowl, it seems to me like you would have made 10,000 more seats,
or at least have the ability in a temporary setting.
Yes, do something.
To put 10,000 seats out there, and it's possible that
Correct.
that is the case, but I'm not aware of that. The other two talking stuff like Final Four and college football playoff, I don't think there's any doubt. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that when the Dome Stadium gets here, we will play host to a college football playoff game. No doubt at all.
I agree. I totally agree with that, especially how the city's boom. There's so many people, and it's such an entertainment place with country music starting it, and now with all the stuff that Scott Ramsey's bringing into town, it's kind of crazy. That's why it baffles me about the World Cup. I know I keep belaboring that point, but it just baffles me that everything else is coming to Nashville, and Major League Baseball. I'm not trying to jinx it. At some point, I think we'll be in Nashville as well. But like you just can't have your World Cup as one of the regional deals in Nashville. I'm just not understanding that. But it's just such a place where those guys are kind of like a machine now. They're getting the SEC tournament. They're getting all this stuff coming to town, and they know how to do it. They know how to entertain people. It's such an entertainment place when you go downtown and you see all the people playing music. It's a great place and people enjoy it. So I think it's going to be a hit.
With the playoff, which game?
Well, obviously you'd love to be able to say you're going to get the title game. But from a city standpoint, who cares?
Right.
Did Dallas get all up in arms because they got a semifinal between Texas and Ohio State? They jumped at it. It's great for the economy, great for sports in their city. We're going to get one of those games.
Do you see what I'm saying with the bowl affiliations, though? That the Sugar Bowl is in New Orleans. The Rose Bowl is in Los Angeles. The, AT&T Stadium. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, the national title, maybe that's the first one they get. And this is probably more of a college football logistics question.
Well, remember, the likelihood by the time it matters is that we're in a 16-team playoff.
Correct.
Who knows at that point whether home field is part of the deal or not?
Or if you pick, if you take away the home field, that would mean you've got to come up with four new venues. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, my gut feeling is for the next 3 to 5 years, the first round will be home field.
But when they go to 16,
who knows?
You would think they switch.
Yeah. Final Four is a dicey one because it's basically you against about 10 other cities trying to get the golden whatever, the absolute cat daddy. Do I think we're going to be in the mix? Heck yeah. Do I think we're going to get one at some point? Yeah, but it's going to be in the 2030s.
Yeah, I was looking Indianapolis next year, Detroit 27, Las Vegas 28, back in Indianapolis 29, AT&T Stadium in 30, and then Atlanta 31. So maybe as soon as 32.
Yeah.
And they schedule those far out. I didn't realize that.
They go farther than they probably should. And but who am I to tell them? Anyway, it really speaks well for our city. We're doing a lot of cool things. When you think back 30 years ago, when all of this kind of started, there wasn't this, and it's kind of nice.
It's amazing the growth. I mean, you go down there. I had to go down there to our meeting today, George. Just so many people, and there's cranes everywhere. It's just it's kind of unbelievable how big the city of Nashville has gotten. And Scott Ramsey and that bunch is doing a great job of bringing entertainment, bringing things to the city. And I think when people come, they enjoy themselves and they want to come back.
The thing that Butch Spearden has said to me that has separated, in his opinion, us from other cities is the cooperation of things like police department. That there's certainly other groups, but that the cooperation amongst those groups is way better than in most cities. So to all those folks, kudos.
Yeah. And
job.
I mean, is there a more enjoyable city right now in the country?
I'm not getting into that.
You could probably say Vegas at all times there, Billy.
Yeah. But like everything. Like,
you ever been to Vegas?
I've never been to Vegas.
Okay, well, that explains a little bit of that answer. Anyway, look, enough of all that. We'll go to the break. When we come back, we'll have stat of the day. And then Terry McCormick will rejoin us, and we'll get knee-deep into what's going on with the Titans, big picture, not just the last 2 days out of the Atlanta suburbs. Stay tuned. This is 94.9 The Fan.
Laundry piling up? Make it easier with the latest washers and dryers from Electronic Express. We carry top brands like LG, Samsung, Speed Queen, Whirlpool, and GE. So whether you need an all-in-one unit, stacked unit, front load, or top load, we've got that. With free delivery, the guaranteed lowest prices, and up to 24 months free financing, upgrading your laundry room has never been easier. Find your perfect setup in-store or online, only at Electronic Express. We've got that.
Don't let shoulder or elbow injuries put a dent in your golf game or keep you off the course. The sports medicine experts at Houston Clinic Orthopedics can help you return to playing your best game pain-free. They offer treatment options from physical therapy to injections and, if needed, surgery. Houston Clinic Orthopedics has 8 convenient locations around Middle Tennessee. To experience world-class orthopedic care and to book your appointment, visit tn.houston.com.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 429, has a path to a dignified career. Are you a skilled electrician or lineman? Tired of dead-end, low-paying jobs? Local 429 is accepting applications for highly skilled electricians and linemen and is providing the best training in Middle Tennessee. They are the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 429. Call them at 615-889-4429 or go online to ibew429.org. IBEW Local 429, the best training and training the best.
Start your engines. Nashville's biggest racing weekend is back. It's the Porchetta Bourbon Music City Grand Prix, August 30th and 31st at Nashville Super Speedway. The speed, the sound, the stars of open wheel racing are all going full throttle. And you can catch every second of the action right here on 102.5 The Game. Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Racing takes over Music City. Don't miss a lap. Your sports live here on 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville Sports Network.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9 The Fan. A Cromwell media station.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Talking Titans with Terry McCormick coming up. But first, stat of the day brought to you by Apple Collision Centers. You can find them in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. Give them a call, 615-754-9800, or log on to their website. That's applecollisioncenters.com. All right, we're going baseball today. Through his first 2 seasons as a Dodger, Shohei Ohtani has hit 97 home runs, the 4th most out of any player during their first 2 seasons with a team. Who is first in that list?
through his first 2 seasons. You know, Kelly, just right off the bat, Aaron Judge.
I'm stumped here, George. I don't know. I'm just going to be honest. I think that's as good a guess as any.
Yeah, let's go with Aaron Judge. Although, when I think about it, George Foster of the Reds could be going way. Now, that's going back a long ways. So let's go with Aaron Judge.
It is Babe Ruth.
Wow.
Really?
113.
The Bambino.
In between all those hot dogs.
That's
Yeah.
crazy, man.
Okay.
He didn't get much in the training or in the workout room, did he?
No, he was
Not a lot of recovery.
Not a lot of Nautilus and stuff like that. I think that's pretty fair to say. Okay, we welcome all of you into hour number 2 of the show. From our digs at the Fordyce Center in Bellevue, the Titans have wrapped up what are 2 days of going at it with the Atlanta Falcons. They will play Atlanta down at Mercedes-Benz on, let's see, what do we got
Friday.
here? Okay, yeah, it is on Friday at 6 o'clock Nashville time. Terry McCormick has been down in the Atlanta area for the last 2 days, and he joins us again by phone. Terry, where exactly are you?
Somewhere north of Atlanta, still bumper traffic, about, I'd say, 30 miles north of town.
Okay. My guess is an hour from now, you'll be about 5 miles closer. Congrats.
Probably. Yeah, your city has a traffic issue, George.
Yes, I'm aware of that. It also has relief pitcher issues, but we'll get through that. Terry, how concerned should a person be about Jeffrey Simmons' comments about the team gets off to slow starts and it reminds him too much of 2024? Talk to me about that.
I don't think that's any big surprise. I think there's a lot of things on this roster that are not very good right now. You know, they're not really, other than maybe the defensive line, and if they fix the defensive line, you know, and then if Cam Ward pans out, there's not a whole lot to get excited about with this team, man. You know, they're lacking at cornerback. They're lacking at wide receiver beyond Calvin Ridley. They're just lacking for playmakers all over, really, when you look at it. And to be honest with you, I'm talking to some of the other reporters today, you know, it may not look a whole lot different than last year, except for the fact that maybe they won't be, you know, doing any of the crazy mistakes that you saw cost them a couple of games early in the year with Will Levis.
So, okay, you've been down there and you can see the Titans against the Atlanta Falcons, and what's the difference between the two teams? Because I would describe Atlanta in kind of that mushy middle. They don't feel like a division winner, but they don't feel like a bottom feeder either. How different is the talent? How big is the gap between the Falcons and the Titans?
Pretty big, especially skill position players. The Falcons are just loaded with Drake London and Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson. That's 3 big weapons right there at receiver, tight end, and running back that they have that's far superior to anything the Titans have. If Michael Penix pans out and comes around, the Falcons could be a decent team this year. I don't know that they're going to beat out the Bucs to win that division, but they're not awful. Their secondary looked pretty good, and their pass rush looked decent yesterday when I watched them against the Titans offense. So they look, I'd say, 4 wins better than the Titans, at least.
Okay, you cover this team on a daily basis, and yet you almost sound surprised to me that it's this big a gap and that the Titans' talent level is this low. Has it caught you by surprise?
Not really. I mean, to be honest with you, you start missing on 3 or 4 straight drafts, and this is the kind of stuff that happens. Those 3 guys I just mentioned, Robinson, Pitt, and, now Penix and London, all high draft picks, all of whom, of course, the jury's still out on Penix, but the other 3 all have panned out to some degree. Look what the Titans have taken in the first round over the last 5 years. What do they have to show for it? They've got an offensive lineman in Peter Skoronski, who's pretty good, and a right tackle now in J.C. Latham, who they think can be good. But no playmakers to speak of from their first-round picks. And, the one thing I'll say that's different about this year is that the Titans themselves are kind of tempering expectations. Last year, they kind of, I'll say this, they ended up, whether they intended to or not, they ended up kind of throwing Will Levis under the bus because they sold this team as being one that could, if it fell right, contend. Well, they weren't close to contending because they had holes everywhere in the offensive line, at receiver. You had a quarterback who wasn't ready to handle all that. And now this year, with a new quarterback in Cam Ward, they're basically saying, temper the expectations. We know this thing's going to take some time. So, they changed the tune as they changed out several parts. But, it's still kind of the same old thing. This thing is, may get worse before it gets better in terms of win total.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about Brian Callahan. To me, a year ago, Terry, he felt very overmatched. There were times where I kind of looked around and said, does he really know what he's doing? I've had friends of mine say to me that what he really is an offensive coordinator who appears to be, during the games, solely into offensive coordinator kind of stuff. And the rest of it is left to the other coaches, a defensive coordinator on the defensive side. Is that fair or unfair?
That may be a little fair because he said this year he wanted to have more involvement overall in the whole team. So, and that's where there's, part of that oversold from last year. You had a first-time head coach and first-time play caller in Brian Callahan, a first-time offensive coordinator in Nick Holtz, first-time defensive coordinator in Denard Wilson, and the since-fired Colt Anderson was a first-time special team coordinator. So you cleaned the slate for all first-time guys in there in charge of the respective units, and the results were kind of predictable, especially when you're also dealing with a young quarterback. That might have worked if you'd had Tom Brady, who could play. I could coach Tom Brady because he's going to coach himself. But when you have young players and first-time coordinators and all trying to teach, it's not really surprising that the results have been bad when you add on top all the missed draft. I think the one thing that it was interesting today, the one thing that Cam Ward brought up in his press conference, in addition to saying he don't like the Titans can be a top 10 offense, which I don't see that right now. But he said that as far as him and Callahan and the offensive coaches go, he said he wants the stability that it takes to help him be a good quarterback. So he's in Callahan's corner. He doesn't want the rug yanked out from under him the way the Titans did with Jake Locker, with Marcus Mariota, with all those guys had to change coaches in their second year, and it set everyone up back.
Well, ultimately, doesn't that sort of depend on the first 2 months of the season? To me, it all kind of comes to a head around the bye week, which is right at the start of November. And if they're sitting there in a, I don't know, 2-7, 3-6 kind of deal, who knows what she's going to do? He has been anything but a picture of stability.
George, I'm gonna see that and raise you here on this one. The New England Patriots come calling on October the 19th. If Mike Vrabel comes in here and beats them 35-10, all bets are off in terms of what Amy Adams-Strunk might do.
I think I get where you're going with that there's some animosity there between Vrabel and her. Terry, I guess I'm in this category right now of I don't get what they're up to. I don't get why Borgonzi accepted this job, because he's half general manager and he's half Chad Brinker's, go get coffee boy. I don't know why a guy from Kansas City needed to subject himself to that. And I don't know why Amy Adams-Strunk thinks that's the right recipe to get you there. Talk to me about that. And is there a frustration to what looks like a goofy deal?
Well, we got to have a conversation. The writers that were down there got to have a conversation yesterday with assistant GM Dave Ziegler. And he said, and he was a former GM of the Raiders. And he, kind of used the company line, but explained how it divvied up. That Mike Borgonzi is the guy that goes out and picks the free agents, picks the draft players they're going to draft, all that sort of stuff. And that Chad Brinker, while he has a hand in that and could overrule Mike Borgonzi, he has to take care of the day-to-day stuff that comes up that maybe doesn't necessarily deal with personnel and what's on the football field. In other words, if they need to buy if they need new sides for the field, he'd be the guy that would, okay that or something. A lot of additional things that Ziegler said that no GM wants to do because it takes away from his football time. So Borgonzi, apparently the way it's set up, has nothing but football time to manipulate and to massage the roster and to oversee it, while Chad Brinker, while he has a hand in the scouting and could potentially overrule what on a player or whatever, it's most likely they're going to be in agreement, and he handles all the day-to-day stuff that goes beyond just what's on the field or in the front office.
Terry, I hear all that, and that's an explanation that's been put out there a lot. But a few days before training camp, it wasn't Borgonzi's press conference. It was Borgonzi and Brinker. I mean, part of what it's being made to sound like in baseball terms is that Brinker is the traveling secretary. He sets up hotels. He sets up, equipment. Then why is he in equal billing in those press conferences?
Well, he does have the title of president of football operations. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, George. It's a weird setup, and I don't, and that's why the question was brought up yesterday in that kind of informal, off-the-record conversation. People want to know how the hierarchy is set up because it's different than almost any other team in the NFL. So, I guess the jury's out whether or not it will work. We'll see.
Okay, let's do this. We will go to the break. Then Kelly and Billy will take over with Terry McCormick. We'll open the phones for your Titan questions around the bottom of the hour, give or take a couple of minutes. Stay tuned. This is 94.9 The Fan.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
A golf cart from Mikey's Motors is the perfect way to get around this summer. Whether you're going to the park, the pool, or the playground, do it in a brand new golf cart from Mikey's Motors, Franklin and Murfreesboro.
Summertime fun in Tennessee. That's what we sell at Mikey's Motors. Come see how we roll.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
Convenience and value, two words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today, pancoastbenefits.com, or call them at 615-292-3400. Jobs or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today, pancoastbenefits.com, or call them at 615-292-3400.
Tonight, the Nashville Sounds continue their 6-game series in Durham. Pre-game at 5:20.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan and the Game Nashville app.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Okay, we are back. Terry McCormick is on his way back from Atlanta. My guess is in their traffic, he hadn't moved a lot, but he is good enough to join us to talk a little bit of State of the Union, not necessarily of these last 2 days with the Falcons before they play game number 2 in the preseason Friday, but just big picture in general. Kelly, the floor is yours. Do it proud.
Terry, I want to ask you about Brian Callahan. Last year, he comes in his first year as a head coach. I don't think he really called the plays in Cincinnati. I think that was kind of his first time. But everybody tries to talk the game. They try to be the game. I felt like last year when he was at the podium, sometimes it was like a deer in the headlights, maybe not so much. But do you think that he's gotten confident after the first year of coaching and being a head coach, of managing everything? Because to me, when you see his press conferences, he looks a little bit more confident.
Yeah, there's probably some of that. I think he learned a lot of what not to do last year, and a lot of details maybe that he wasn't aware of that have to be taken care of by a head coach. So yeah, I would say that there's probably some more of that. It remains to be seen, how well it's going to translate this season, because as we talked about in the last segment, the roster's still got a whole lot of work to be done on it. And, but here's the thing that comes out of this. If he can develop Cam Ward and show that Cam Ward is on the right track, then I think he gets the benefit of the doubt in a lot of these other things and gets to continue on as the Titans head coach, because everybody over there now is patient, and they're not hiding it either. In years past, most times teams would try to keep it concealed and not really let the cat out of the bag that, hey, this thing's not going to be very good, because they're all afraid probably that they were going to get fired. And I think they're preaching patience and, hey, this thing will get better, in hopes that Amy Adams Strunk will realize that and give them time and patience that they need to try to get this thing going back in the right direction and build a winning culture.
So let me ask you another thing, because George kind of brought this up, and he talked about the dual partnership between Borgonzi and Nihil. So do you think in the organization, with that happening, do you think everybody's got a clear picture and all the roles have been laid out in front of everybody, or is it mixed signals? Like, I don't know if you can tell that, and I don't know if that's anything that you can answer, but does it feel that way to you that we're getting the, because everybody's got to be on the same page? And do you think they're doing that right now, or do you feel that?
I think they're trying to be on the same page. I think, more, in all honesty, like George brought up, Brinker has been more of a face of the front office than Borgonzi. Borgonzi has really, been kind of behind the scenes in terms of media availability and being out, talking and things like that. Brinker has been more hands-on in that regard. I think the roles are pretty divvied up between Borgonzi and Brinker. Not only those two, but Dave Ziegler and Reggie McKenzie, who are also part of this front office. I think, they all have roles. And, Ziegler told us yesterday that, they're still trying to collaborate and come to a consensus. And, maybe that works, maybe it doesn't, but I mean, at some point, somebody's responsible for what happens over there. And, and if it's good, they get the credit. If it's bad, they get the blame for it.
Kelly?
Oh, sorry. I can't. I'm having trouble hearing Terry. Okay, Terry. So tell me this: with them signing Trevor Siemian and letting the other young man go, do they feel like, which I'm not sure, but like, how has Brandon Allen done in these joint practices? How has he looked? I know that neither one looked good the other night, and that's why the Bull kid's gone. But Allen has kind of a history with Brian Callahan. But do they feel confident with Trevor Siemian coming in, or is this a deal where Brandon Allen's got to step up and they're going to go out and get somebody else if he doesn't?
That's a good question. I think a lot of people have been concerned about the back and forth situation, especially like I saw the other night in Tampa Bay. They let Tim Boyle go, brought Siemian back, all of last season, kind of is a sounding board for a young quarterback, a good guy to have in the room, that sort of thing. Brandon Allen, I was told, had a pretty good day today, but he kind of is what he is, Kelly. I mean, he's a lower tier backup quarterback. The higher tier backup quarterbacks, your Jacoby Brissett and your guys like that Teddy Bridgewater, those guys are going to command a whole lot more money. And, there are only a handful of those that maybe you feel confident saying, I can put this guy in, he's going to win us, 2 or 3 games while the starter's out. This year's all about developing Cam Ward, and I think they feel like from the mental standpoint and the intellectual standpoint that Brandon Allen and Trevor Siemian are guys where Cam Ward will be in good hands as he learns the rigors of the NFL. But if either one of those guys has to play for an extended period of time, you're going to see a team that already isn't very good probably be pretty bad.
Okay, so you talked about the receiving core, and you talked about Calvin Ridley's kind of the only one that's shown anything. They brought in Van Jefferson. They brought in Tyler Lockett. Are those guys just not fitting in, getting the system, or what's the deal with the – because those are – Tyler Lockett's – he was in the right offense, obviously, in Seattle, and he got a lot of play, and he made a lot of plays. He comes here. How have they looked, and are they seeing anything into the offense so far?
Well, I haven't seen a whole lot of explosiveness out of either one of them, to tell you the truth. It's sort of like, I'll put it in baseball terms, because George will appreciate this. It's sort of like when you look at the rosters of the Pirates or the Marlins or some of these teams that don't contend very often, they've always got 2 or 3 good players. They've got a handful of prospects that they're hoping will be good. And then everything else is filled out with these veteran guys that are kind of hanging on toward the end of their career. And I kind of feel like that all over the roster at every position group, there's 2 or 3 of those guys that are just kind of hanging on. They're there because they're good locker room guys, or they're there because they can teach people and maybe produce a little bit. But I just don't know how much you're going to get out of either one of those guys in terms of production and explosive plays. I think in a best case scenario, they would love for one of these 2 rookies, either Chimere Dike or Alec Almaner, to show them enough to start to maybe chip into some of the playing time that right now is going to go to Lockett and Jefferson.
So obviously, and George talked about it Monday, how they may have to build through guys getting waived, and they may have to get new guys. Well, it's obvious that they're not really comfortable with their linebacker spots, because I think they signed 3 new guys today. How are they feeling about the inside of the defense, the second level of their defense right now? Obviously, it's not good.
Yeah, I think they feel good about Cody Barton coming over from Denver. They signed him to like a 3-year deal. I think they feel like he's going to be all right. I think that other spot is Gray got some run with the ones today after James Williams had kind of been there almost all of camp and in the first preseason game. So those 2 guys rotated today at the other inside linebacker spot. It's not so much those guys I'm worried about. It's behind them, the guys that, are the second teamers and maybe a third teamer that, are also you're counting on to help you on special teams. I really think they need some work in trying to improve that, and that's where you may hit the waiver wire, try to find a guy or 2.
Okay, my last question is, I saw where Lloyd Cushenberry got on the active roster. Have they said anything how they're going to kind of implement him back into getting in shape and getting in the offense? And when you said earlier in the update talking about the O-line and you thought that they played good, that's great news to a quarterback, and it gives me kind of confidence, because it all starts up front, defensive and offensive. And if the offensive line, which they hadn't been really good in a while, there's been no consistency there whatsoever. But what are their plans for Lloyd Cushenberry, getting him back into the fold?
Well, they started doing a little bit of individual work, doing a little bit of running. Then got to start. The next step would be probably to get him working in some leverage work. Where he's pushing the blocking sled and going against another body in there and trying to test that Achilles out. I asked him yesterday, I said, do you think you can be back for the season opener in Denver? And he said, that's the plan. So we will see. It would be a pretty quick recovery for a big man, 320 pounds, to recover from that type of injury in just 8 or 9 months. But we'll see.
Terry, Ward's comments obviously are out there, and you had hinted at them. I mean, obviously they're not the top 5 receiving core in the country, in the league, and they're not a top 10 offense. Now he may believe that, and who knows, maybe they get closer to that than we think they can. How close are they to being there?
About as far away as I am from being home right now, which is quite a ways. I think there's a lot of things that have to go right, including a quarterback, developing and, learning a system and getting comfortable with it and getting comfortable with the guys. And quite frankly, Cam may feel like they're a top 5 group, but I think everybody else around the league would probably say you do yourself well if you had 2 or 3 more playmakers.
On defense, this group, obviously, we've talked about it. What more can we expect to see, or what would you like to see from them in this group, especially Friday night in the scrimmage against the Falcons?
Well, the 2 things I think you want to see out of this, you want to see somebody step up from among the second string corners to give you some type of confidence that if you had to put them out there in a game, somebody got hurt, that they could survive and, actually make a play or two. They're very, very thin behind the starters, Jarvis Brownlee and Daryl Baker. And Marcus Harris has probably been the next man up. He actually rotated a little bit in with the 1-2. Roger McCreary could be an option if they wanted to push him outside, but I think they kind of really pigeonholed him into that nickel spot where he excelled. And then the other thing is somebody show a pass rush. Somebody who can consistently put some pressure on the quarterback. Arden King had a good day today, got in the backfield 3 or 4 times in a row and looked really good. We've seen him flash before, but they need somebody to be a consistent threat off that edge to go with what they do have in Jeffrey Simmons and Devondre Sweat in the middle.
Okay, Terry, let's do this. You cool after the break, take a few phone calls?
Okay, yeah.
You're not going anywhere for a while, are you?
No, I'm almost to Calhoun, if you know where that is.
I know exactly where it is. Yep. Okay, hang with us. We'll get some of your Titan phone calls for Terry McCormick. Go ahead and jump in now. What are you laughing about?
Oh, nothing.
What'd you want me to say? Yeah, I've been to Calhoun's.
No, it's just, I'll tell you after the break.
Okay. Anyway, phone lines are open at 615-553-0933. Again, 615-553-0933. And Billy, if they have questions in the chat room, how do they do that?
Chat room's open, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. We've got a couple, but need to get a few more rolling in here. If you're watching on Twitter on your phone, just swipe up, fire away your questions. Also, if you're on a laptop or even, well, maybe not on your TV, but definitely your laptop or iPad, you can fire in those questions just to the right of the stream. So we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, phone calls, your text questions, all that stuff coming up on 94.9 The Fan.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2025 season. Create a summer of memories at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, and more. Tickets are on sale now.
Hello, I got places to be. Like me next to you, and you next to me, and you next to me, and you next to me, and you next to me. Hello, I got places to be.
Email me, plastergeorge@gmail.com. Again, plastergeorge@gmail.com. We will fit your budget and your needs.
A lot of people want to define teams by singular performances.
Sports. Did he not go back into the game after that interception?
Let's get this turned around. And we're all saying, no, they don't.
Here.
You thought you were on your way.
Your sports live here.
On ESPN 94.9.
And the Game Nashville Sports Network.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
we are back. We know that Terry may kind of sneak out of bad skull coverage, and we'll just sort of play it by ear. If it gets too bad, we'll end it. But so far, I think we've been able to hear what's going on. If you've got some Titan questions for Terry, we have room for you. Jump in now at 615-553-0933. Eric in Nashville, you're the leadoff hitter. Go ahead.
Hey, George, pleasure to talk to you. And Terry, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. I've got questions about two players. First of all, L'Jarius Sneed. Still, what's the latest on him? Do you think he'll be ready by week 1, or do you think he could still be out for a while? And the other one is Tajay Spears, because I know reports he has an ankle injury. Is he pretty much out for the rest of the preseason, and they probably won't use him until like week 1, or do you think it could be a longer deal? Just wanted to get your thoughts on that. Guys, it's always good to talk to you guys. Y'all take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
Eric, good to hear from you. Terry, let's start with L'Jarius Sneed, because nothing looks very good, and it feels like we've gotten a lot of mixed signals on this one.
Yeah, Sneed's a guy that I don't know what is going on with him, because anybody that knows what's going on with him is certainly not letting much information out. He remains on the PUP list. I'm at the point where anything you get from him might be a bonus. I think, he will play this year, but it certainly wouldn't shock me if they say he needs to start the year on PUP and miss the first 4 games. As far as Tajay Spears, he's had a run of bad luck with injuries over the last couple of years. I think he was having a pretty solid camp until he got hurt with that ankle injury in Tampa. And I think that he's probably out for the rest of the preseason. And, I think they might be hopeful that he could play in the season opener, but in my mind, that too is not a guarantee.
So in Tajay Spears' case, with him gone for the next few weeks, who benefits from that? Certainly the Titans don't, and I don't mean it that way. Maybe that was a bad choice of words, but who gets the playing time?
Well, I think it probably means they just go deeper with Tony Pollard. He gets more carries, a lot like he did last year. As far as the number 2 running back, it'll either be Julius Chestnut or Khalil Mullins, the rookie from Michigan. One of those 2 guys will assume some of the reps that Tajay Spears would have gotten, but neither of those are the same type of player that Spears is. They're not the type to, really just cut, and really be quick in space or anything like Spears is. They're more just a one cut and go type of back.
Terry, I can't remember if I asked you this last time you were on or not, but we talked about how good Mullings played in that game against the Buccaneers, and you just mentioned Chestnut as well. If Mullings, say he plays really well again Friday night, does that bump him up, and could we see more playing time from him in the regular season?
It's possible, but I still think it's going to be Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears getting the lion's share of the work this year, provided they're healthy. That running back's going to have to show something on special teams. And even if they keep a 4th, that's another guy that would have to show something on special teams just to be active on Sunday. Mullins is one of those guys, you take a flyer on in the 6th round and see what you got. He's looked okay, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. He's probably one of the guys, though, that does benefit from Spears being out for a while.
Terry, how frustrated are the Titans about L'Jarius Sneed? Because he's put out some stuff, in great shape and all that kind of stuff, and clearly that's not the case. Are they frustrated, or do they feel like they knew exactly what they needed to know from day one?
No, I think they're clearly frustrated because it's been, one thing after another. This injury, the quad, the knee. They knew that his knees weren't in great shape, but then, he goes and he re-injures it, has a procedure done in May. Most guys who have arthroscopic surgery are back in 2 to 4 weeks, 6 weeks tops. this has now been going on for over 3 months. So to me, that's a red flag. But that said, the situation that the cornerback room is in and the roster, they need this guy to contribute something.
Okay, Caden on line 2 is next. Caden, say hello to Terry McCormick.
Hey, Terry. It was clear that Cam Ward and Ridley were connecting, and there was something there in his first preseason game. So I was wondering if he's a clear cut for, Ward's number 1 guy this season. Has his camp performance been indicative of that? And also, has there been any particular standout from the wide receiver room this week specifically?
Calvin is the only guy that I would say is truly dependable at this point. And even Calvin has had some spells with drops on occasion in his career here. But far and away, he is going to be the guy that is, Cam Ward's number 1 target, his go-to guy. Among the others, we talked earlier about the veterans, in Lockett and Jefferson, who, haven't really flashed to show a lot of explosiveness. But, I think they're hoping that this kid, Alec Iomanner out of Stanford, he's been a little bit inconsistent. He had a rough day on Tuesday, but he was a little bit better today. I think they're hoping that he's a guy that could catch on and maybe give them something else at the receiver core beyond just what they're getting with Calvin. As far as a number 2 target right now, I probably would say it's got to be Chigakonkwo, the tight end.
Good Lord. I mean, Terry, the picture you're painting is the worst receiving core in the league.
Well, maybe not the worst, but it's certainly in the conversation.
Wow.
It's certainly in the conversation.
Ooh. Hayden, anything else for Terry? Lost him. Okay, thank you. Terry, you've done good work today. Very much appreciate it.
No problem, George. Thanks for having me.
Hey, safe travels back in all seriousness.
All right. Okay.
Not drive.
I'm gonna pull in here to Buc-ee's, fill up with gas, and maybe get a sandwich.
Well, these Buc-ee are very
You may get lost. You may get lost in Buc-ee's house.
No kidding.
You're right.
Yeah, Terry. So, Kelly, I don't know that I have ever heard Terry as unenthusiastic.
Yeah.
As I'm hearing him
He's
right
usually
now.
able to paint a better picture than what we think, what fans think, but not the last couple of segments.
Ooh. I mean,
man, it doesn't sound good, George. It really doesn't. And I'm just worried about, like, me being a quarterback. I'm worried about the quarterback room. I know they've got to be worried about the quarterback room too, because they're trying to get Cam Ward as much as they can. They got to keep him healthy to get him to the season at least. I think he's a physical looking guy. I think he's probably tough. I think he can battle through things, but you're trying to get him to the season, and you're hoping that, hey, we get to the season, he plays well, he plays good enough that maybe we can have another year. And that's the big worry that I've had. I've asked Terry, I've talked to y'all about it. Like, they do not need another turnover here. And if they only win 3 or 4 or 5 games, what is that looking like to the ownership again? And it's going to be another revolving door, which I'm afraid of. And I don't think Cam Ward needs that. I think he needs some consistency at least for another year. And he needs some people put around him. Like, I can't believe that sometimes guys just don't fit, George. Like Tyler Lockett's he's been a really good player for Seattle for a long time. And sometimes they get in situations where they just don't fit the offense and it just doesn't work. They don't get it, or it just doesn't work. And the same thing with Van Jefferson. Van Jefferson obviously grew up here with his dad coaching with the Titans. He went to Ravenwood. Good player, but like that kind of amazes me that those guys have not shown up much. Now they're learning the offense. I get it, but still, that's, and then Now Chigakonku, he showed last year he can play a little bit now. He's got he got a little bit of yak yards after he catches the ball. He can do that kind of stuff. And I wonder how I was going to ask Cherry how the Gunnar Helms kid from Texas is doing as a tight end. I don't know. How is he doing, Billy? Do we know?
I've heard he's had some moments and flashed a little bit,
but it's been a little quiet. I mean, really, was he a factor at all in Tampa?
No, he was not.
I hadn't heard his name at all. That's why I'm asking, because I think he's a pretty good player. I don't know how good of a blocker he is, but I think he's a pretty good tight end catching the football. But I don't know. When you're talking about a tight end right now, and there's some, there's not many Gronks around, but when Terry's talking about a tight end, that's kind of devastating to a fan base right now where they are.
The thing about the Titans right now is that there's not a whole lot of proven commodities. And I know we know that, and we talked about that. But every time we talk about a receiver or a tight end, it's this guy's got potential. We think this guy can be good, or this guy was drafted high. The Cam Ward talk, like he's the most proven player on this team. Not at the NFL level, but talent-wise and what he can do. But there's just not a whole lot of proven commodities on this team, and that's the bottom line.
Well, first of all, if a Titan fan is jaded about the wide receiver room, they've got every right to be, because this team has hit on virtually none, other than if you're going to go back a ways, Derek Mason. Was certainly one they hit on, but it's been few and far between. There's been a lot of Yancey Thigpens and Randy Moss and Julio. I don't feel good today. My hamstring's tight. I mean, this fan base has been treated to a lot of wide receivers late in their career who have nothing left in the tank.
But here's the thing, Kelly's talked about it. It's not their style. The Titans are not a team over the years that have dropped back and thrown the ball 40 times a game, and that's what you get. But it's crazy how bad they've been at receiver over the years.
And they're trying to change that philosophy right now, but are they going to get time? I'm sitting here looking at the roster. I was looking at the roster earlier, guys, and you don't have the Brad Hopkins, the Zach Pillars, the Derek Masons, the Eddie Georges, the Steve McNair. You don't have you don't know Jeffrey Simmons. Okay, he's the highest profile guy probably on their team right now, but you don't know anybody, and that's just when they first came here. The Frank Wychecks of the world and all these guys, the Clay Matthews and all these guys, it's crazy, man, where they at right now.
Well, maybe two things that are a little silver linings here. Number one, it appears that everybody's taken a chill pill and just sort of said, look, it is what it is. If you draft crappy for year after year after year, ultimately this is what's going to happen. And it's not just 3rd through 7th round. Their first round picks have been awful over an extended period. The one silver lining on the field appears to be, God, let's hope so, that their offensive line is a little better.
That's where it starts. That's where it starts. And I didn't mean to say Clay. I meant to say Bruce. Sorry. Bruce Matthews. He was there forever.
Yeah, but I know Clay appreciates that.
I know, because he's in the city now, we heard. So, yeah, he's here.
So, okay, if you're Callahan and you're sitting there and you kind of feel like you got two bosses. You got Brinker, who has the bigger title, but Borgonzi, who you're told is the GM, and you don't quite know who's really in charge. And you've got an owner that you've seen some crazy behavior. What's got to be his mindset right now?
Just keep your head down and coach football and coach them as hard as you can and try to get a winning product out of what you've got right now. That's why I asked Terry the question, because when you've got, it's just like being a quarterback. Like Steve Spurrier was the only one that ever used two quarterbacks and made it work. I've never seen that happen. You've got to have a defiant number one. You've got to have a decisive number one guy. I just don't know how that's working. Like, they may be talking about it in the meetings and have the same message, but when they go out, they both got different beliefs. And they might put that belief on what they believe instead of hearing what they heard in the meeting. So that's a tough deal to me, George. And I don't know how it's working. Maybe they can make it work. I hope they can make it work for the Tennessee and the Nashville community and the Titans fan base. But that's a tough gig right there. When you got two, you really don't have one.
That's exactly right. And when I think back to when they got here, the concept that if Floyd Reese was having a press conference before training camp, now it might be Fisher that was up there, but there wasn't anybody else. You knew that Floyd Reese was the GM - decision maker.
Correct.
You don't know that here.
No, I just don't know. I know you wanted a job, but I don't know how you take that job just to get some experience. I'm not sure. I just wouldn't want that deal where every decision that I make, if you're making me the general manager, I want to live on my own standards, and I want to die on my own standards. Like if I'm going to get fired, let me get fired on things that I've done, not things that I felt pressured into doing. And that's just kind of what it feels like to me. It's a tough deal, and I don't know if I've never been around that. When I was with some pretty bad teams, but at least we had one decision maker in the building that was talking about, and they talked to the head coach. But like, I don't see that, and I don't see how that can work.
You want to hear one that's really a little confounding?
What's that?
Under the category of what does Vegas know that we don't, the Titans are a 5.5-point favorite Friday night in Atlanta.
Why?
I don't know. Maybe the Falcons are using the Braves bullpen. I don't know. Speaking of which, Kelly, after the break, we'll have Plaster Bet of the Day. And for the second day in a row, Kelly.
Commitment to excellence, huh?
Absolutely. When I told you that one of the premier pitchers in baseball was going to get beaten, not once, but twice, it's happened.
Whatever, George.
Paul Skeens got battered last night in Pittsburgh, and I'll admit I kind of enjoyed it. This is 94.9, The Fan.
Make your Yellowstone area vacation unforgettable at the Buffalo Bills Center of the West in Cody, Wyoming. 5 family-friendly museums packed with wildlife, art, culture, and authentic Western experiences. Plan your adventure now at centerofthewest.org.
Get ready for an unforgettable night where Nashville's spirit lifts its littlest hearts. Trinetics Rock the Cradle returns September 18th at the Pinnacle at Nashville Yards, bringing a private concert by country music's Tim McGraw. Exclusive tickets available at rockthecradle.org. Every moment powers hope for newborns and mothers cared for at the Beeman Neonatal Intensive Care Unit and the Ascension St. Thomas Foundation. Get tickets now at rockthecradlenashville.org.
Extraordinary homes deserve remarkable appliances. At Electronic Express, we bring the best luxury appliance brands together, all in one place. Whether you need a sleek refrigerator, a state-of-the-art range, or a premium dishwasher, our expert team is here to help you make your home extraordinary. With fast delivery and professional installation, experience luxury made easy at Electronic Express and create a home that truly inspires.
More than 200 members of Congress are standing up for AM radio listeners. The AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act will keep AM radio in cars, because when cell and internet services are down, this free service could be your only lifeline. Text AM to 39179. Tell Congress to pass this critical legislation now.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Final segment on a Wednesday. Time now for Bet of the Day, brought to you by Burt Durham Injury Law. take a look. What happened last night? Milwaukee got the win. We'll see if George can keep it rolling.
Yeah, they beat Paul Skeens, and to be honest, Skeens got battered. I tell you, Milwaukee, Kelly, has become the story right now in Major League Baseball. They won this afternoon again. That is their 12th victory in the row. They have kind of lapped the Cubs, who really have not been very good offensively since the All-Star break. And a lot of what is helping Milwaukee has been down here in the last year and a half with the sound.
You know, Pogie's, he's just loving life right now.
Oh, my God. He is. He's on cloud nine.
Because especially since your Braves are down and his Brewers are killing it, you know he's loving it.
So you think he's against the Braves?
No question.
No, that's nice.
No doubt.
So, Kelly, here is your winning pick for tonight. We're taking the Seattle Mariners, probably the second hottest team going right now in baseball. They have made a couple of trades at the deadline that have really helped them. Eugenio Suarez from the Arizona Diamondbacks, Josh Naylor, who they got. That has really improved their lineup. They go to Baltimore, where the O's, they've been the second biggest disappointment in all of baseball.
They were supposed to be better.
Oh, huge.
Yeah, well, what's happened, guys, to them? Like last year we were talking to Danny, and they were on their way up. They had the best farm league in the game. And what's happened to the Orioles?
If I knew the answer to that, we might have made more money earlier in the season.
We wouldn't have had this show.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, that's what we're going with tonight. Kelly, tomorrow got a very interesting show. Danny Evans to talk about, has anybody noticed San Diego has caught the Dodgers?
Yeah. Do you think all those injuries that the Dodgers have had are starting to catch up with them, or?
Yeah, I think they've gotten to a point where they don't know what it is they're getting in pitching. So I'm trying to pull up the standings here in the National League West. At the moment, the Dodgers and San Diego are both 68 and 52.
Oh, wow.
The Dodgers have had to come back to the pack. They've had a ton of injuries. They have no idea what they're getting pitching-wise from day to day.
It's about time they I'm not happy necessarily. I know you're not the biggest fan of the Dodgers, but I mean, this was bound to eventually happen to that pitching staff with all the injuries.
Yeah, and it has. They don't know from one night to the next what they're getting. The Angels have taken them behind the woodshed. Ohtani pitches tonight. He's a huge favorite. I wouldn't make the Dodgers a huge favorite right now because Ohtani will only pitch 4, max 5. And so you go deep into their bullpen, bring it on.
Give me that Dodger bullpen.
Yeah. Bring on Enyel. Anyway.
Is Enyel a Dodger now?
No, Enyel is an Astro.
I was going to say
as of a couple of days ago. So, and we wish him the very best. Kelly, tomorrow, Danny Evans will join us, and we will broadcast live from your hometown.
Really?
We'll be at Middle Tennessee Christian.
Oh, okay. The Cougars, go Cougars.
Yep. Our buddy John Houston working that out for us. So we are done for today. Kelly, try to behave until tomorrow.
Always, George. I always do.
Yeah.
You know what the greatest thing, Billy, you know what the greatest thing today was? George did not get anything on that Knights of the Round Table green shirt from eating lunch.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point.
Normally there's stuff caked on the shirt, but it's not today.
That's really nice, Kelly. Have a nice
He can't get it to his mouth fast enough, Billy.
Kelly, rest well.
See you.
Should be serving time at the home right about now. See all of you tomorrow. Thanks for being with us.